see how they attempt to do that, at least in the pick ban phase.
I think you are going to see a lot of top lane bans. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Jace ban come through here either. But look, they know that, especially with Robo and Karaoke, been hot and cold this year. Maybe that bot lane is where you decide to play through. But there is going to be a lot of attention paid. Oh man, I feel so smart when that happens. The Jace ban does come through here against Weiser, but yeah, that top side is going to be where all the attention is focused. And 2 jungle bans coming through for KBM. I think this is now the 5th game in a row that we've had a Pantheon.
Yeah, and I expect it to continue even past into 11-13 right here. We could see it maybe slip through, and maybe the nerfs were just what 11 or what Pantheon needed to maybe start seeing some play. And it feels weird to say that nerfs will let him see play, but it just takes him out of that hard perma ban status right here. He's still finishing off that, or still on that level. Do round out the bans here from Pain Gaming. They opt into a jungle ban, and KBM go, hey, wait, no, that's our thing, and they steal one back and go for a Renekton top ban right here. And we are going to see that Udyr first pick come through. Of course, still not nerfed quite yet on the most recent patch. We are playing on live servers, of course. We're going to see the Udyr picked up, and then with Rel in response right now, these CBLOL picks just coming out in full force right now. Rel taken with Leona, with Nautilus, with all of these things up and available. Just full ego, really, from Professor to say, pick what you want. I am confident in the Rel to just demolish.
And Professor is one that can speak with that kind of confidence. He had a really good game on Rakan last week. He is a big, big part of what makes this team go. The engine, the go button, etc. BRTT and Lucy will be running the Aphelios Thresh. Pretty standard there. But the Lilia locked in here for Ryan, which she's still meta. She's still very strong. But that maybe says to you, okay, AD, maybe AD mid, depending on how things go here. You've got some mixed damage here from Evrod, but AP junglers can be tougher to really shine. But we just also haven't seen Lilia quite as much in the early goings here.
No, and I think that comes down to her needing just a little bit more time to fully set herself up in the game. And against a champion like Udyr, picking Lilia with that movement speed passive as well is maybe to sort of go hand in hand with the fact, hey, you've picked a speedy go fast boy, we're going to pick a speedy go fast girl in response. Like, that's maybe where they're going with it. But it's still going to be pretty difficult for Ryan, at least, to navigate the early stages up against Karaoke here. He's going to be in a really good spot on the Udyr to power farm, match pace with the Lilia, and definitely exceed the Lilia's pacing here. We know that both of these junglers can reach 24 CS, all 6 camps, and get to their Scuttle Crab in time for the spawn. So we're going to have to wait and see. This will be one of those games where we have to keep track of things like leashing, keep track of things like how well the junglers are clearing. And at this level, we expect them all to be able to clear their jungle and make it out to the crab on time. But in an intense matchup where everybody can farm and everybody can be on pace with one another, it really puts the emphasis on it a little bit more so here.
I think it's very well said. Mid lane bans coming through here before Evrod and Tinones. Yone, TF, and Azir taken away, and with Weiser not having his champion locked in, they go, oh shoot, right, we gotta take care of that. And they get their 3rd top lane ban locked in here. So I imagine maybe at this point, I mean,
Gragas is still available.
Yep, Gragas still up. We'll see who kind of flinches first as far as locking in a top laner. So KBM will have a potential counter pick here, but Evrod is going to get his hands on Zoe. We'll see what the top and mid lanes hold for Pain Gaming. They've set themselves up here for a mid lane counter pick, but then they're going to have to top lane blind here. But it's not like there are really that many left here.
No, I mean, let me try that one again. We're expecting, of course, something to be a little bit safer into the Zoe, right? We have still things like the Syndra, like the Orianna, which KBM didn't pick up here. And to speak to that a little bit, right? We've got the Zoe here in combination with Kai'Sa and Lilia. Speaks to a fair amount of poke right here. Bowling balls going down the laning phase, Void Seekers as well. Setting up in either an objective under a turret. KBM are going to be in a great position, and with Rel as well to maybe limit the engage that can come through from Pain Gaming. Getting these poke champions in it's going to put you in a really good spot. The Gragas comes out in the top lane like we'd expected, very stable top laner in his own right, and can limit a lot of the aggression that the meta quote
Hmm.
champions in the top side have. And at this point, I wouldn't be surprised to see KaBoom default back something toward the Ornn, something just a little bit more tanky that doesn't necessarily have the laning dueling power, but that offers them something. Well, I may be entirely wrong, but that offers them something that can definitely start a fight and that can engage, because that's sort of the one thing that they're lacking right now. And you know
Yep.
what? North fits that brief.
Yeah. No, that was a thought I was going to formulate, and you beat me to it. Yeah, I think that if nothing else, just there's a lot of poke. You're right, but I don't know. I mean, as far as starting fights, right? I mean, you can have all the poke and pick and kind of 1v1 boom boom that you want, but at the end of the day, you need someone to kind of go in and make the magic happen. And in a more defensive composition, not as much dive on the side of Pain. If Weiser can get a good flank here and just disrupt things and get the jump onto Pain Gaming, there's only going to be so much that Robo with a good cast or Lucy with a good Flayer box can do if KaBoom are the ones to ask the questions first, and if they can ask the questions after whittling down with the poke around objectives, I think that's how they're going to want to play these fights out.
And I think that they've drafted a really good composition into Udyr, right? Like Udyr
Hmm.
thrives on
Yeah.
just picking up low mobility targets, and whilst Kai'Sa, might not strike, or maybe might strike you as a pretty mobile ADC, right? Has got the supercharge, has got the ulti to try and dodge out of the Udyr. We've got Zoe who's going to be stealing spells and getting movement speed from that, and even more so has portal jump sleep to try and slow down the Udyr. Lilia with a load of movement speed, and Gnar with hops, slows, and all of these kiting tools in their kit. They've got themselves a pretty decent answer to what was this first pick here from the side of Pain Gaming. So if they're able to play to this sort of poke, disengage, and sort of run backwards composition, they're going to have a pretty decent time. And even if they find the opening, right, the way that their composition is going to play out is they start poking, they're going to bait and engage in from Pain Gaming, and once that engage either fluffs or just doesn't quite find the marker, if that's how it happens to go, they've got Gnar and they've got Rel that can start off fights with Killer Instinct over the top of that. Zoe as well, no slouch at getting into the backline with the portal jump. They're
Yep.
going to be more than fine of turning these fights 180 and maybe start running over Pain Gaming.
Yeah, because the engage isn't going to be crisp, right? It's if your main engage, right? I think you hit the nail right on the head with karaoke. Yes, you're gonna have to get creative in a straight up 5v5 with all this poke, with a lot of pretty mobile, relatively mobile carries anyway. And Ryan with the phase rush as well as the fan vote comes in. Pain still a very, I mean, these are two of the historic squads in CBLOL, but Pain getting the vast majority of the representation here. This is, I know our random minion caster as well, a big Pain Gaming fan. So maybe he hopped in there as well. But this is one of the most, the squad is showing out here. You see triple phase rush, Comet, Fleet Footwork up there for Weiser. But yeah, no, pretty standard. Unsealed Spellbook, etc. Nothing too wild here. I do want to kind of refocus the attention because I think you made a really good point there, Rudude, about the early jungle clear pathing if there's any shenanigans, right? Lilia, we know she likes to start opponent Raptors, but maybe in kind of a matchup that is, like you said, a little more high intensity where farming is so important, maybe they don't try to gamble that.
It looks like it's just going to be the two bot side starts and into what I imagine will be a full clear, right? Obviously, starting on your red buff, you're easier to set yourself up for the Krugs and the Raptor camp, which are things that both Udyr and Lilia excel at with all of their AoE clear, be it from Phoenix, be it from Blooming Blows. KaBoom and Pain though could go for a little bit of a 2v2 right here. Good flay prevents
Mm.
the engage, and this is why Thresh is so good into Rel, right? You just diminish the entirety of the engage, and now Pain Gaming have got priority down on the bot side, right? They've got themselves this push by A, not having to leash, and B, having the support counter pick right here. And it's sort of why I was surprised to see Rel come through as a first pick when
Yep.
they'd left so many supports open, right? Talked about the Leona, which Rel typically fares pretty well into, but Thresh is, this exact same thing, just stops the engage entirely.
Yeah, and even Leona into Thresh, right? It doesn't feel fantastic, but it's not as like slow and lurching as a
Mm.
Rel engage, right? Like I think the flay went off from Lucy, it was like right as Professor was winding up the Ferromancy there, right? It's just so easy to call out, and not only with this link up now, right? Professor has to get behind you to land the
Yeah.
stun, whether it's Lucy or BRTT, and Lucy can just tell him he knows that that's coming, right? Whereas into Leona. Leona, maybe at least you can get your EQ off before getting flayed away. But yeah, it doesn't feel great into the rel. But look, Professor, maybe he knows something we don't. Maybe he is that confident. Like you said, it was a bit of a flex locking that in R1.
I'm gonna be interested to see if well, with the rel coming through. Then in that instance, right, there is a small mechanic that you can do where you start your E, buffer your flash, and then the second portion of the E, the sort of
Mm.
knock up stun phase, comes on through, and that's really how they're gonna have to try and get away with it. But now we do see this sort of jungle prowess, this jungle fight that we were expecting, and
Uh,
it turns out that it doesn't come down to whose jungle clearing was better as we didn't expect it to. It comes down to these laners and who has priority. Right now, we've got to look at mid lane. Everett is the one in control of the mid lane push, and top lane as well. Looks like Weiser had first rotate coming on through, but we see the flash engage.
And the paddle star isn't there, and there is the flash bear slap from Karaoke. He's going to get first blood. Scuttle Crab running away from the fight. He goes, I want no part of this. This is violent.
Oh,
No,
Everett.
sir. And now Evrod, I think he was able to pick that up, and indeed he was able to flash away with the W. And it was a party in that top scuttle. Everyone was invited. Yeah, for that first Herald, that scuttle's so crucial. Everyone gets involved.
The funny thing is that Pain are just going to reset and they're going to take the bot one as well. With Lily having to walk back out onto the map, Karaoke's going to have first priority. But this is sort of a example of what is to come right here. That if Pain Gaming can get on top of the other squad, they're going to be in a good spot, right? Kaboom there. They're looking to set up the poke. They're looking to really help themselves as best as possible with those longer range forms of damage. But the second Udyr is on top of you, you are going to start losing. And Everett as well really just made me chuckle. He managed to steal away a flash, flashed on top of the smite that he then used to secure the crab, and they got another flash and flashed away and managed to make it out like that. The small little things that do make me chuckle. You can see that he's more than capable of starting to amount a little bit of a CS lead here and respecting this sort of mid jungle 2 versus 2 and the power of the CC that both Syndra and Udyr have got. Do look to be working towards some early game Mercury treads, especially having taken teleport in your summoner spell and having that spellbook to switch over to something which will be a lot more useful and give you that spell thief proc so that you can get that movement speed and get away. Things like the cleanse, heal, barrier, all going to be quite useful here for the Zoe, trying to find a little bit of movement speed and find some safety in her lane.
Yep, minion dematerializer on the books as well, but it is very utilitarian, right? Went heavily into the inspiration tree there, and just kind of every trick in the book. Dematerializer, start commencing stopwatch, the unleash spellbook, etc. But he's saying even in CS, and Tinones has the one assist to his name, but and we saw what Tots was able to do on that. But this seems kind of similar thing, right? It's either Tinones or BRTT that are going to be the two big carry options. We'll see how Robo wants to build. Flamethrower coming out and able to get the Gravitum as well. Lucy trying to get himself set up for a death sentence, is able to get the lantern in his BRTT, now kiting back, Flay for disruption, and Desave is going to pick up the kill onto Lucy. It wasn't there. Ryan with a bowling ball is flashed over by BRTT. Don't know if he absolutely had to flash, but he probably did.
Better safe than sorry, right?
Yeah.
If he doesn't have to flash, and the purpose of flashing there is that he's able to stay and take the wave. He's still got the HP to get away with it. If he doesn't flash and takes a ton of HP but lives, then he's not going to be able to pick up the wave. Overall, it feels weird to say that flash for a wave is what he's gone for there, but that's pretty much it. The entire premise of that bot lane fight right there was that Professor didn't really get any engages off, but this early game power of the Kai'Sa with the Hail of Blades coming on through in the laning phase outweighs the power that the Aphelios has, and without those really decent early game fighting guns, we saw Gravitum and Infernum, not red-white, not those power picks, but now in the jungle, Karaoke trying to find something here. Does have Lantern available.
Karaoke is so low. He's able to get
Tinones
out of there. Ryan, that was bold. Yeah, had to flash away. Almost got the blooming blows off there, but I mean, that doesn't feel great. And Lily is not quite as reliant on her flash, but that because she is still just a run at you, right? Like you said, a zoom girl or however you put it in draft, it's still nice to have.
It's always good to keep your flash, not only to find those engages, but just to dodge out on those high skill or high variance CC abilities, right? We've got things like Cask, Scatter, and Death Sentence. All of these pick tools that Pain Gaming have got open to them. Not having the flash just makes them that much easier to land for Pain, and without obviously trying to beat a dead horse too much here. Keeping your flash alive and available to you is obviously going to be useful. I want to touch on Ryan's itemization quickly, though. We do see the Band of Glass Mirror here, which tends to ward this Moonstone Renewer, the enchanter meta that we see starting to thrive a little bit more here with that item being so prevalent. Going to be helping out his team, and the amount of procs that you get with Lilia in particular is just so massive. It's just going to be doing so much work for them in the team fights, in skirmishes, in literally anything that they can find. The second that that one gets picked up, KBM are just going to reach a big spike from one single item across an entire team.
Yep, and I think all that healing, whether it's if there is some disruption via a cask, via one good death sentence or a flay, so, using flash there as well by Lucy to get to the back line. That healing is really going to help out, but it's also just going to help sustain so much Wiser and Professor as they go forward. Yeah, that's going to be Moonstone Renewer, probably right into that Staff of Flowing Waters. Pretty easy kind of 1-2. Karaoke just able to sidestep the Sleepy Trouble Bubble. Now Evrot maybe in a little bit of trouble here. Sidesteps the Death Sense, and now they have the re-engage. Here comes the Lilting Lullaby, and Ryan picks up 1 kill onto Lucy, and it looks like they've got them pincered here. Desave kiting away nicely. All these spheres are going to land, and the stun CC, is it enough? Is there any sort of healing coming in for him? Gets the shield there from the Killer Instinct. Well done by Desave. Very well played on the Kaisa.
He came in on the frontline Kai'Sa flank right there, and I was scared for his life right there. Took an unleashed power to the face and got stunned by Udyr, but just about managed to break away with the Killer Instinct shield to keep himself alive. And honestly, I couldn't tell you if I knew that was going to happen or not, but it was beautiful at least to see. Really good stuff coming out from Desave and KBM in general, right? They find themselves the poke, they're able to use the sleeps to engage. From then on in, they were able to take the fight up against some weakened members. We saw that Pain weren't quite able to get on top of KBM and subsequently couldn't take the fight. This is the way that these compositions work, and it's the story that we're going to keep drilling home to you guys, because that's how Pain Gaming win, and it's how KBM as well are going to be looking to take fights. If they can use their poke, use their sort of longer range spells to keep themselves at a safe distance, then they're going to win the team fights with the follow-up of Sleep and Gnar. But if that can't go their way and they do end up losing out and get engaged upon fully without that poke being down, they're going to struggle and they're going to end up losing. So keep your eyes on, of course, these small things as we move later and later into the game, and when these team fights become more and more prevalent, as Wiser, with that 2-level lead, looking for the engage, just missing on the wallop. Not going to matter too much here, as somehow we do have that 2-level lead on the top side, and not sure if that came exclusively from the single 3v3 that we had earlier, but that's going to be the biggest discrepancy that we've got.
Jeez. Yeah, that is nigh 40 CS.
Yeah,
he is looking really, really strong right now. But look, to Robo's credit, just the one death, and it didn't come at the hands of Wiser. So you got to give credit where credit is due here, because he's kind of getting he's not having a good time up in that top lane.
For sure not enjoying himself, and so you can see that Pain with this weak side top, they're going to be using their advantages that they're trying to amount down on the bot side to pick themselves up this Mountain Dragon, and quite rightly so here. If they've got the time and the pressure to do so, they should be going for it. But Brian definitely doesn't want to give this one up for free. He's down a level, and Pain Gaming should be able to pick up this Drake for free. They do indeed. The level lead in the jungle, and you can see that that's CS as well, definitely favoring Karaoke there with the Udyr, and it's pretty abstract, or pretty atypical at least, for us to see such large CS leads in so many areas, right? 5 camp lead for the Udyr. Down on the bot side as well, we're seeing a 30 CS lead for the Aphelios, which is sort of mitigated by the 2 kills that Desave has, so it doesn't really matter too much. But the fact that you're getting CS where your enemies aren't, never a good sign, and definitely Pain Gaming still in a fairly decent position. If they can find the engage, they can win these team fights, and will all come down to the execution in the end.
That's still relatively even. Just about a 1K and change gold lead here. Ryan was able to pick up the Herald, so he's still holding on to that. About 2 minutes left to use that, get some value out of the plates, which is, I mean, if that's not the entire point of the Herald, I couldn't really tell you what it is. So let's not sugarcoat it here. But zooming out a little bit here. Well, actually, no, let's not zoom out. Let's zoom right back in here on this top side to see if anything happens here. There's no objective fight over. Death Sentence is just going to miss. Tinones made it to maybe pop, maybe even Professor, because Professor's not that big. Well, no, he won't be able to pop Professor, but maybe Ryan if he's a little bit mispositioned. Excited to see what he's able to do once he's able to get those items completed. Mid lane is the one lane that we're not seeing any sort of that discrepancy. But yeah, I mean, Everott's still very much happy with his more utilitarian build. Wise are going to go into Meganar here. Maybe they're looking for a dive. I think Robo sensed it coming. The cast really isn't going to do a whole lot. Has to flash away. Farabancy in. Ryan flashing in as well. Does have the Lilting Lullaby. It's going to pop it right there. Wait it out. Perfectly layer the CC. Good night, sweet prince. There we go. Finally.
Oh,
Oh!
Professor it's traded back on, though. The tower ramping damage means that it's a 1-for-1, and after all of the summoner spells, rather the utility that they'd used, all the ultis, that's going to be not too great for Kaboom. They do net themselves this top lane turret as well, and hopefully do see Gnar run in and pick up that little bit of gold. He's able to obviously pick up the plates, and BRTT down on the spot side. If they're able to trade this back here, Pain Gaming definitely won't be too disheartened by that trade. You can see that they forced Desave off of this massive wave, and he's not going to get anything for it. So they're definitely trading here on Kaboom. They're putting a lot of eggs in their top side basket, where they're going to be relying on Desave to make the most of what he's got with just scraps of gold, really, overall. The important thing to note here then is going to be that BRTT doesn't get solo turret gold, doesn't get the plating, doesn't get the finish on that bot lane tier 1, and the plates fall, right? So 14 minutes into the game, they've gone down. That's 160 gold that BRTT and Lucy aren't going to be able to pick up for themselves. They might well be able to pick up the turret and the local gold that provides, but that big plating efficiency not going to come on through. You do see that all of the plates that Pain were able, or Kaboom were able to pick up rather, were on that top side, whereas in the bot lane, they weren't quite able to pick up 5, but they got something elsewhere.
Yeah, still maintaining the slight lead that they do have. I do want to see kind of, because we've talked about how they being a Kaboom want to take fights, and we've only seen one dragon taken here in coming up here on the 15-minute mark, and yes, that is due to just the fact the first one was taken a little bit later. But I do want to see if Kaboom can execute on kind of this objective setup, right? Poke them down, as now the mythic items are coming in here. Gorgiger completed for Wiser, Moonstone Renewer completed there for Ryan, and Evrot on his mythic item before Tinones is able to, but Tinones is kind of looking for a good time to back, I imagine. Well, maybe he's got enough gold. Actually, I don't really know that to be totally true. But
And the thing with this Syndra build right here is that we've spec'd a lot into things that aren't mythic items as well. It's worth noting that, yes, Zoe had to spend a lot of gold early on the Mercury treads, but Syndra's gone into the tier, gone into the Dark Seal and the boots as well. So slightly matching up against what the Zoe has picked up. So there's that going to be that slight gold discrepancy. And also Zoe has an extra kill, an extra assist, an extra 10, 15 CS at the minute. She's definitely got more gold in the bank than the Syndra. So we maybe just aren't going to see it come through in time. 30 seconds on the Cloud Drake spawning is going to be indicative of seeing where the teams want to play around, because Kaboom are going to be looking to try and take this Rift Herald, it appears, with Ryan on that top side and the Moonstone Renewer looking incredibly strong, whereas down on the bot side of the map and down for Pain Gaming, they're down here taking this bot lane tier 2, and Desave doing the best that he can to try and thwart this, but you can see the damage that he's putting out on Karaoke, really not too much at all.
No, not as much as you would hope. I mean, he doesn't have his mythic item. He's still got a bit of a garage sale build going. He's just looking for a good time to back. But like you said, he's just kind of playing tower defense right now, and that bot tier 2 is on its last legs. It's a 2v2 in at the bottom lane. Prio, very, very nicely established. Karaoke is going to walk away with another dragon pretty free here. And now let's see if where he pivots here. Mid lane or bottom lane, or neither, I suppose. But it looks like he's going to try to make a play in the mid lane. No, just farm up some chickens.
And we see this playstyle a lot from teams where one team will focus on objectives, the other team will focus more on gold and funneling their specific carry members, right? And so often, at least in my experience, it feels like the team that focuses the gold come out on top, and they're the ones that when the team fights start rolling around, they have the item advantage, and the buffs that they've gotten, or the buffs that they haven't gotten rather, don't typically favor the teams that have this early game resistances, these ability haste things, because they're one-time effects in fights, right? Like, if you have your ultimate up, that's not changing in a team fight. It's either up or it's not, and so often teams aren't fighting so frequently that the extra ability haste matters. So early on into the game, the extra 6% bonus magic resistant armor and MR that you've got doesn't matter, right? So having that gold early on really does make the difference, and having your gold in the right places is always going to be important, and Kaboom here showing that. They've now got all their items on the people they want. They've completed their mythics across the board. They're starting to group up, starting to use their composition, use their poke to do exactly what it needs to do. And if Pain Gaming don't have everybody there nearby to stop it, they funneled so much gold into the Aphelios, into BRTT right here. If he's not there, their leading source of damage, there's just no way for them to contest.
No, they're checking their boxes really well here as far as just kind of macro fundamentals. They're ahead in towers here. They got that mid tier 1, and Karaoke made a valiant defense of that of Shelly earlier, but it was all for naught. I believe that was that the second Herald?
Yes.
Okay, where did the first one go?
They placed that one mid as well, I believe, just to get plates. Or they used it top, didn't they, to break top tier 1?
I think so.
Yeah, they top tier 1 there.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, but I mean, it's like you said, it's a focus on gold, right? It's not necessarily a focus on objectives, but it's a focus on objectives as a means to an end. That end being gold. And Ryan, 2 for 2 there on those heralds. So and you see the advantages that it has created. Now, this is still a very tight game here. The lead is barely 2,000 gold. Dasave is going to respond with a tower of his own on the other side of the map. Now, everybody up there for Pain, we might get a fight just yet, Rude Dude. I am itching here.
Well, they're going for the engage.
Yeah, the professor actually asking the questions here, and he's maybe in a little too deep. The backup isn't quite there. Evrot and Ryan going to take the Moonlight Vigil to the face, but Wiser down in Mininar, and that maybe is a window that they want to work around, but they're not confident. Pain in their health bars. Lucy trying for a last-ditch death sentence, but not going to find it. Professor, a valiant effort, but there's another kill for Pain Gaming.
That's not what Kaboom's roster does. Even if it was, they were down Dasave, who was roaming in from base. Trying to find these engages, pre-setting up your poke, having 5 members there just is not where you want to be starting off your fights. Kaboom had the wave clear and had the ability to just clear the wave, neutralize the threat that Pain Gaming had put down, and go away with an even trade, and maybe even an advantageous one as well, given that they'd got on that bot lane tier 1, all funneled onto their Kai'Sa. Instead, they overreach, they overextend, and they cost themselves a kill onto Professor. And yes, it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world to give up 1 kill, but it's something that didn't need to happen here. And if you're trying to contest here and really prove that you are one of these top teams in CBLOL, we can't be making these mistakes, right? We said coming into the game that we wanted to see them with a more controlled and a definitely more thorough approach in terms of they want to win the game handily and win it convincingly, and giving up those advantages, giving over those mistakes and those kills doesn't speak to that mentality.
No, and this is maybe a bit of a replay. It's not maybe not quite the same, because you do feel like you're seeing more of these kind of macro missteps from Kaboom than you did from Flamengo. But again, you got to credit Pain Gaming. It seems like they kind of know where their strengths lie. I mean, I literally feel like there are so many things about this game that are deja vu. But Kaboom just haven't quite. Yeah, I mean, it's just little things like that Pain, look, for all that they've struggled this year, their players are experienced enough to where they can punish those things. As the flamethrower does go out here, Lucy forced out of the fight. Ryan does have the Lilting Lullaby up. Lantern out. BRTT repositioning himself. Death sentence almost lands onto Professor or Ryan. Infernal Drake up in 20 seconds.
The point where these gold-oriented teams typically start to focus more on the objectives. Things like Rift Herald, no longer an issue, right? Tier 1 turrets, plates, all of that good stuff, not really on the board, not up for the taking. So now Kaboom, with their better gold lead, with their composition, who have got a couple of items, are going to start to look putting out the poke. Look at Ryan with the bowling balls, Dasave with these Void Seekers, and Evrot with bubbles through walls, with paddle stars over terrain. They're going to look to try and set up an advantage, and Pain have to find and engage. They've got Robo on a flank here. This is about as good a setup as they could like. 3 people on 3 different angles. They could look for this. Kaboom, though, getting the dragon.
And Karaoke, yeah, they've gotten the dragon down to the point where it's about securing it, and Dasave is able to do that. Lilting Lullaby is going to land onto just one. It's Karaoke, but he's going to get demolished, taken very low, and then he goes with the Killer Instinct, or rather the Hicathan Rain, Another sleep lands onto Lucy. He will go down. Finally, Dasave didn't have to pop the ult, but he finally gets his money's worth. Ryan landing on the edge of the fight, waiting to go in. A very nice stopwatch. He knew his team was there. Forces the flash out of Robo. Nicely played there, baiting it out from Ryan. Voidseeker's not going to find that, though, but they are able to secure the Drake. And again, it wasn't really the setup we thought we were going to see, but they played the fight very well.
They were able to put the damage down onto Karaoke, who was just running through the Drake, didn't manage to secure it. As he was running through, they were putting all their damage down. The second they realized they had an opportunity to find a kill, we see the engage from Professor. He uses his ulti, uses Attract and Repel, and they're able to find a quick kill, a quick pickup. Yes, it's onto Lucy here, and not necessarily the Udyr that we'd maybe expected, but there was a really big sleep from Ryan that just zoned 3 members off entirely and was able to give KaBoM their fight that they wanted. Pain Gaming had all the setup right there. They had Udyr coming from below the Drake pit. They had Gragas coming from lane and 3 more people coming through the jungle. If they wanted anything and any form of engage right there, that was about as good as they were going to find for it. Robo had flash, had cask, had the utility to get into the backline, but it was just that lack of forethought, the lack of engage, the hesitancy to press the buttons and press the engage tools that they'd got that ends up costing them. Now on the top side, Karaoke though has got the Turbo Chem Tank, has got Udyr, and he's going to look for Desave.
Wow, that's a lot of CC layered very nicely, but Desave with the cleanse. Flash, he's going to get away with it.
There's no way that he should be getting away with that. Incredible that he does, though. Getting himself away using his summoner spells and the killer instinct as well that he just had from the previous team fight to their advantage. Meanwhile, though, Pain Gaming, they're going to try and opt into a Baron right here. There's no ADC, but they've still got all of the poke on KaBoM. Lilting Lullaby available, and the Baron immediately peeled off from Wiser with the teleport as well. I like the heads-up play, but they don't quite manage to make it work right there. Nice cask.
Woo! Almost get a pick there onto Wiser on Mininar. I like where Robo's head's at, though. That was almost really, really good.
It was incredible. It was almost exactly what they needed,
Yeah.
and that's the sort of thing that we're looking for from Pain to put themselves in this position where they can start taking the fights, using that Gragas cask to separate some members and separate what was in that case their 2 supposed frontliners. Right, if they can split them off from the fight, they've got the time and they've got the damage here with BRTC and Tinones to isolate a member and give themselves a quick one shot and give themselves the advantage in the fight. If they take away the frontline for KaBoM, they're just 3 backliners that have no HP to go between them. As soon as the second that one of them gets engaged on, they're all going to fall. And now they find a sleep onto Udyr, though.
He's able to get out of dodge with the lantern and might have kept him alive there. Wiser, not really close to Meganar. And try to charge that up there in the side lane and maybe look for a better fight. The assist me pings come down. They know that it might go down in the West jungle. It's not the DMs where it goes down. It is in the jungle. Wiser able to shut down this turret, but little by little, KaBoM. This is sort of what we saw from Flamengo at a certain point in the game. Your macros got to take over. Your lane assignments have to be smart. Your vision has to be there, and you can sort of just bleed out games.
And this is exactly what KaBoM want, right? If they're not getting engaged on, they're happy bunnies. They're more than chilling in their mid lane, in and around the terrain that they're going to be so used to playing right here. And the Infernal Soul, the Infernal Rift as well, slightly a hesitancy or a disadvantage, I suppose, for this KaBoM roster. Not only does Udyr thrive having less terrain, and Zoe hates having no terrain to fire bubbles through, but despite the geographical disadvantage, they're going for the Baron here, and Professor very low already.
Ooh, but he's going to deny the Baron steal with his life. Able to get Karaoke off it. Now he's up there, getting the CC onto Wiser. He's going to go into Meganar. Has the wall up available, but will even be able to. Yes, he gets 2 with it. Is able to lay down some damage. Now Lucy into the back line. Takes himself in, and the Unleashed Power is not going to find anyone to shut down kill there from BRTT there onto Wiser. And looks like Pain might have a lifeline yet. Desave able to not really do a whole lot there. They get the Baron, but only 1 member alive to spread it.
And it's the exact thing that we've been saying this entire game. If Pain Gaming get on top of KaBoM, they're gonna win. They get on top, they win. A beautiful flash hook with the lantern from Lucy provides not only himself access to the backline, but Tinones as well, who lands a beautiful stun to keep all 3 members in the backline engaged right here. So just look at the fight, right? They can sacrifice Professor here and try and run. And I don't even mind that, right? And even here, right, they get Karaoke, catches out Wiser. If KaBoM just run on that north side of the fight, they're going to be fine. But look, they hesitate. They want to keep going in. They want to keep fighting. And it's that flash hook, that flay that keeps them engaged and keeps them occupied. And from then on in, there's no way out. Desave can't do anything. Evrot, neither can he. The front line is just too strong up against these poke champions that they're going to get funneled for it. And they do get punished. Pain Gaming, they get themselves shutdowns on pretty much everybody, right? Yes, Desave still got the Baron, but a single Kai'Sa, not going to be the best situation for trying to utilize that buff to your greatest effect. and they get themselves the Infernal Soul, or Infernal Dragon, rather, excuse me, as well. It puts them up to Soul Point, and now it puts that clock on KaBoM to really force their hand, because they have to make use of every single dragon, and they're going to try and use this Baron a little bit right here, only being on the Kai'Sa, though. We've talked about it not really being too useful, and Pain Gaming, with all of that gold that they've just been funneled, BRTT has an even bigger injection and is just that bit closer to the Infinity Edge.
He's almost there on that third item, trying to catch up with Desave, but he's doing quite well there. He set himself back a little bit with the Executioners, which fair enough, I suppose. Into yeah, I mean, well, yeah, I mean, you've got the Moonstone Renewal, but not the Staff of Flowing Waters, going a little more defensive now. So not going full Moonstaff, but just the Moonstone Renewer, and then a little bit more durability there to combat against BRTT. And if Karaoke gets up there as well, but mainly just BRTT. But Pain Gaming have found themselves a foothold in this one. And it's going to come down to, I mean, yeah, because BRTT's got this item, this third item now. It is just, yeah, it's about finding ways to take those angles to where, like we've talked about this entire game. Like you said, if KaBoM can't execute kind of this whittling down of the fights before they happen, then Pain has to be able to punish. And they did. But like you said, there was a little bit of hesitation from KaBoM because the ult was actually all right from Weiser, but they were getting zoned off that fight from the get-go. Yeah, we'll I think both squads are going to play very, very carefully for the next 3 minutes here.
We've got the Drake spawning in that 3-minute time, as you've alluded to here. Karaoke does push the Tech Chem tank button and forces a little bit of their hand. Doesn't show anything too flashy there. Flash Bear Slap is available, so Sarve does need to be careful. But importantly, look at the items that he's picked up. He's not only at 3 items, but he's also got a stopwatch, and he's also got both of his summoner spells available. So a team fight right now, exactly what Kai'Sa will be looking for. And yes, we've got 3 minutes before we're likely to see one. But that engage from Robo could spell a bit of disaster. Doesn't know that the team is here, though, and we could well see a bit of a disengage come through from Weiser. Lucy needs to find the hook.
Oh boy, he might be in a little bit of trouble here, but I think he should be able to disengage.
Blast
Now maybe
cone.
looking for something cheeky here. Nice, Lucy with the lantern over the wall with the blast cone. But let's see. Well, now like KaBoM, I mean, Weiser's just wasting time at this point. What can the rest of his teammates do? He's attracted so much attention, and now Pain gets Desave off of the tower here, and Weiser has just wasted so much time. But what is his team doing with it? You see Evrot there down in the bottom lane. Now they're finally going to try to collapse here. Do they have the minions to make a play on the other side of the map? Weiser will go down. See if he can take someone down with him. No. But again, the tower secured there on the bot side.
Now we have to think, what does this mean in terms of what can Pain Gaming do with this pick? And unfortunately, with no dragon on the board, the answer is probably just going to be vision control, right? They can move into the bot side of their own jungle, reclaim control of it, because you can see there's just a scattering of control wards that are enemies inside their own jungle that they're going to have to clear out. They're going to try and then look probably to set up something around the dragon pit, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be their flavor at all. Instead, just pick up the quick kill, which is traded back for a bot lane tier 2. And, you know, you were talking about it, right? That KaBoM, they were wasting a lot of time in Weiser, but they weren't quite able to find anything from it, save for that tier 2 turret. Desave does burn the cleanse, which is going to be a pretty big cooldown. And if they're able to capitalize on that one as well, this Kai'Sa can be funneled into. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not Pain Gaming look to try and take advantage right here. If they're the ones on the front foot, they can force the engages and they can play to their win condition. If it's the other effect, being that KaBoM are the ones setting up and in the great spot, they're going to be able to put all this poke down. But with Pain Gaming now looking to siege on, they've just out macroed right here, and KaBoM, they're not really in position to stop this. Professor, with the threaten, I suppose, of an engage is enough to warn Pain Gaming away, but Zoe and Kai'Sa are still in mid lane. They probably had time to go for that Jagger or go for that turret. Just didn't really want to try and fight around the objective or fight around that top side with Infernal Dragon spawning so soon. If they can just pick themselves up that soul, they're going to be in a much better spot and don't want to chance a fight on the top side.
No, that's exactly right. This objective is way too important here in the 5th dragon. Potential Infernal Soul here could be what forces Pain Gaming back over the top. They're ahead a kill, but down 2 towers and down about 3k gold. Every ultimate available for everyone. This could be the fight that decides the game here, Rudude. Bowling ball over the wall. Sleepy Trouble Bubble gonna land, but a lot of shielding coming in onto Karaoke. Ryan maybe looking for a flank. Wiser trying to time his Meganar, and his team's got to work around that. Everett trying to get the poke down. There goes the Lilting Lullaby. There's your go button, and the Killer Instinct is so big. Professor taking a lot of damage, but he's the only one that really ate the Moonlight Vigil, and he should be able to survive this. They get one kill. Good cast, but the follow-up just isn't there. It's just disruptive at the end of the day, and Desave has more than enough wiggle room to secure this Drake and deny the Infernal Soul.
This was so important for KaBoM and so important for Pain to that extent as well. There was so much on the line with that dragon. It was either a team get soul or KaBoM deny it, right? And they play, once again, to their composition flawlessly, setting up the poke and finding somebody that they could whittle out. Lucy slept in the front line. They pulled the trigger, and Desave with that fully enhanced Q. The isolated damage from that is going to be insane. And the Hail of Blades proc as well, with all of the sleep, the plasma procs come through. Desave more than able to disable Lucy, who's 4 levels down on him at this point. And yes, you've picked up yourself a Mikhail's right here to try and stop the sleeps coming through, but it's going to be even more difficult to do that to yourself when you're asleep on your own right. So really good stuff from KaBoM. They net themselves a kill, they net themselves an Infernal Dragon, but we're still at this point here, 4x4, where anybody can take this game. If Pain get themselves a good engage, they're going to be in a great position to try and take a fight. Unfortunately, BRTT just wasted his stopwatch there, so that's never what you want to see, and that could definitely come and hurt him in the later stages.
Yeah, the vision control and the setup is going to be so big for KaBoM because the wiggle room is a little bit more for Pain because they've got a lot of tools they can get down onto KaBoM. And like you said, with things like stopwatches, I mean, we got a Zanya's Hourglass on Evrot and Ryan. Now here comes a TP from Evrot himself. Let's see.
And now we're setting up around this Baron, of course, and it's good to use the TP to make sure that you're not losing this objective. But this is the point where KaBoM really does thrive. If they can just fire off a couple of skill shots, look at that. Sleep already onto the Aphelios, and that's the button pulled.
Ooh. Robo right into the backline, just keeping Desave busy. Has to flash away, but that's a 1v1 over there, and the 4v4 going on in the river. Karaoke taking low. Tinones taken right out of the fight. Evrot trying to lay down some poke. Bowling ball coming out. Damage coming in from BRTT. Has to burn the flash and the heal. Desave has rejoined the fight, but the AD carries trading kills back and forth. Shutdown kill for Wiser onto the aforementioned AD carry. A lot of damage not available here for Pain. Should they try to retry this Baron? And exactly, yeah, they're not going to.
And a single sleep starts the fight for KaBoM right there. They fully engage onto this sleeping Aphelios, who gets that Mikhail's, which keeps him alive. So you can see the power that Lucy has invested into that coming through and paying off the dividends that it needed to. But just fighting so close on a knife's edge right there, BRTT getting blown up. But the second before he dies, is able to get out Moonlight Vigil, able to use that Infernal Multi to just destroy the backline here of KaBoM. We talked about how squishy they are if they don't have anything to set up for them, and right there you saw it. Aphelios with those 4 items was more than capable of shredding through and honestly saved them the Baron and most likely the game at that point, because if 5 people are still alive in that 5v3, they're able to get the Baron and they're probably able to snowball the rest of this game. But the Aphelios with that late game damage comes on through just in time to get themselves the fight and get themselves that even point in the team fight. Going to be incredibly close. Once again, it's still very level. Yes, KaBoM have got themselves the gold lead, but it doesn't matter. How these team fights play out is all that we need to care about.
And if we didn't say it enough, the damage charts will say it and echo our thoughts here. It does come down to BRTT. He's got 4 items now, as well as a Vamp Scepter and the boots. He's so strong. Now, Desave, to his credit, he popped that. He got that stopwatch, and that might have been what, I mean, because Robo just went all in on him. He's just going straight bursty Gragas here. Ryan, you join the fight here. Might have the start of it here. Karaoke
Mikhail's used.
Disengage. Yeah, Mikhail's is down. Good catch. Wiser trying to get into Meganar. Pain have to be careful here. Wiser has no flash, so you can't just flash over and wallop them. Oh, but now he's going to turn into Meganar, and nothing yet. Rude, they are just posturing here for this Baron, and now they might pull the trigger yet. They might not.
The issue that they've got is that they have to go now. Infernal
Mhm.
Dragon is spawning in 40 seconds, and if they spend too long around this Baron, they're going to have no control over it. Weiser is now out of Mega as well, so their team fight severely diminished. They have to peel off, and now with Pain Gaming having inside track on the mid lane, they're going to be in a good spot to establish control and establish their first push into this Drake pit. Both teams on the wrong side of the rift right now, and
Yeah.
with Pain Gaming and all this hard engage that they've got, they're the ones that are probably a little bit happy about this Robo in a bush with a pink ward. Bush
Able to.
goes away. But you can see both of these squads just sitting, waiting, teasing one another with potential engages, little bits of poke, little skill shots going here and there. And BRTT stepping up, nice lantern, but that's a bubble that catches again.
Up and Wiser. Get into Mega Gnar, and Desave says, screw it, I'm going in, and he gets what he deserves. Gets absolutely lit up by Tinones. Wiser does get another kill to his name. Robo in the back line. Their sleep is going to land. Karaoke, not going to go down just yet, but it might just be a matter of time. Guardian Angel's going to keep Wiser alive just a little bit longer. Robo trying to extend the fight here. Evrod able to flash away, and a Paddle Star will be enough to get the assist there for Ryan, who's going to start up this Drake and try to keep this at 3-3. But Karaoke looking for the smite steal, and he's got some homies for backup. Ryan trying not to let this Infernal Soul go so easily into that good night. Who's going to get it? The smite fight. Karaoke just chases Ryan right off this. Wiser in now, but it's too little too late. Karaoke will pick up the Drake and the Infernal Soul for his team. Ryan able to buy himself some time with a stopwatch, and back in there to clean it up with a Paddle Star is Evrod.
Okay, so they get themselves 2 kills off the back end of the fight. It's essentially 3 with how delayed Robo's death was as well. They're going to be able to pick up the Baron, and they need to try and make something work with this. The Infernal Soul goes over to Pain Gaming. They get themselves the big, permanent neutral objective, and it's going to add, once again, an aid to their team fight power. Kaboom, unable to stop it. Desave, very questionable killer instinct, unfortunately, and it could have cost his team the game right there, were it not for some beautiful team fighting from Ryan, from Everett. Now they have the opportunity. They're going to pick up this Baron. It's going to be uncontested, and they don't need to worry about that at all. But they need to use this Baron to its fullest extent, because if they don't, that permanent buff is going to live on, and it's going to give them the disadvantage when looking up against Pain Gaming, who are going to be taking team fights that much easier now.
Baron is down. And this time they've got all 5 members. It's not just lonely little Desave up there in the top lane. The cask does land for the disengage. Wiser able to land the wall up here. The Lilting Lullaby not popped just yet here. Wiser able to get the disengage off. Moonlight Vigil going to get the root there onto Evrot. But it's not enough, and that's a big ultimate. It's not going to be available for the next fight, but it should come back decently soon. He's over that little 16 mark. BRTT is the game right now for Pain Gaming. He does so much damage. And Tinone's no slouch himself, but it really does come down to that Aphelios.
Yeah, the Syndra at this point can definitely pump out the damage, and with some decent scatters can put across some team-wide stuns if we're able to see it come through. Tinone's also a factor that they're going to have to consider here, and to that point as well, Robo, full AP on this Gragas, can definitely pump out some damage as well. The Sarve, no magic resist to speak of in his items, and the same can be said here for Everett, though he has got that Zhonya's to mitigate the engage should it come through. Need to keep our eyes on these ADCs, and this is what they're waiting for right now. They're both at 6 items. They're both about as strong as they can be, and this is where they're going to be styling, where they need to come through and really pump out the damage, show what they're made of, and show to their teams that it was worth funneling all the gold into them, right? BRTT at this stage is the one who they've been putting every single resource into that they possibly could, and now he's at the point where he's going to be the one that needs to carry. Yes, we've also got these side lane threats, or the solo lane threats for Pain Gaming, but you always want your Aphelios to be that threat. Wiser takes a huge chunk of his HP down on the bot side, and with this Baron just about getting whittled out here, Kaboom need to try and find something with their siege.
I mean, I think they might. It's such a shame as a spectator that I think they might just be trying to play for the Elder Drake here. In 3 minutes, they're playing this very, very conservatively. But both these teams just showing how much they need a win. They are really valuing their place in the standings because Pain Gaming, if they can put together a good performance here against a very good Kaboom squad and launch themselves to 3-4, they're right back in it. But 3-4 versus 2-5. 2-5, you're with Renska. You're 1 game above Furia. 3-4, you're 1 game behind Loud by the end of the week, for all you know. because Lada probably going to lose a Flamengo. And now Professor does pull that trigger, flay away, good wall up there. It looks like Kaboom were able to clean this up. The sleep is going to land as well. BRTT could do nothing. He got lit up immediately. Tino's had to head for the hills. Looking for the disengage there is Robo, but this maybe will be the game. Yes, they've got the minions marching in through the mid lane, and that will do it. Kaboom, able to finally break this one open, and it's Professor who finally said, fine, let's go home, boys.
And yep, there comes the ace right there. The flash sleep from the Lilia, and after all of that, the 42 minutes, it's nothing like we'd imagined it'd be 4x4.